The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida. This is episode 20A of the Finding Florida podcast on the Florida Podcast Network, Finding Balance in Sarasota, the preview.
Welcome to Finding Florida, the podcast that takes you from country to the coast. Join your tour guides, an unlikely pair, city girl Jemmy and country boy Glenn, as they explore the amazing sights and sounds of the Sunshine State.
Thank you for joining us on this lead up to our 20th adventure, believe it or not, for the Finding Florida podcast. We were invited by Visit Sarasota County to discover the unique origin story of Sarasota and enjoy the natural beauty of Siesta Key. We received a private tour of the Ringling and were treated to tons of delicious food. Plus, I got to finally ride on an electric bike, and Jemmy did something that neither of us can still quite believe that she did. It was amazing.
So all of the audio from that fun adventure of finding balance in Sarasota will be on the next two episodes, 20B and 20C. And we had quite the good time. In fact, here are a few quick clips.
We are now at the Ringling Museum, and Jemmy is going to walk the wire. Not a high wire because it's pretty low, actually. But
I'm still surprisingly nervous.
Throttle test.
So we're going to get started ourselves and really enjoy this flight of wine. You're holding me
up from, so
whatever.
All right, here we go.
Ready?
Go, Jemmy.
All right, legs straight. Legs up now, go for it. Hands off now. Reach through your chest. Beautiful.
Yay!
Down on the corner, out in the street, playing the poor boys are playing, bring a nickel, tap your feet. Yay!
Well done.
But on this episode, we're talking about Sarasota, which was rooted in the Ringling Brothers Circus, of all things. And then we'll get into a whole bunch of other fun Florida stuff, including Florida or Not, a roaming reporter segment from Izzy J, our list fix, FML, and a hero of the month. Listen in.
Sarasota invites you to discover the wealth of attractions that has made it a top U.S. travel destination, enticing visitors from around the world. Its unique blend of sophisticated amenities and beachy charm appeals to people of all ages and all walks of life.
Well, as we always do, we take a little look at the history of the area we're going to be visiting, and Sarasota is no different. Sarasota is a string of 8 islands that are tucked into the Gulf Coast in the southwest of Florida, 60 miles south of Tampa, 75 miles north of Fort Myers, and 4 hours across the state from Jemmy. Sarasota County encompasses nearly 40 miles of shoreline, the most beautiful shoreline,
So beautiful.
and includes the city of Sarasota and Siesta Key, which is where we were focused. There's a lot more islands that we didn't hit, but that's where we're going.
I see another trip in our future then.
Yes. More beaches. Some question seems to exist as to the origin of the name Sarasota, but legend connects it with Sarah, reputedly the daughter of the conquistador de Soto. Some have wondered if the name may have originated with the Indian word Sarasota, meaning landfall easily observed.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're not quite sure. Use of the name Sarasota appears on the first complete maps of Florida, printed in 1839. The first permanent white settler was William Whitaker, who was deeded 144 acres on September 1st, 1851 in Sarasota, near Sarasota Bay. Not in the bay, but near the bay. John Webb moved to the area during this period and opened the first manufacturing plant. Care to guess what they were manufacturing?
Oh, there could be so many options. What were they manufacturing?
Sugar.
Oh,
they were refining sugar to produce syrup.
Nice.
And then in the late 1870s, the orange industry began to attract attention, and the citrus industry established a community called Fruitville, which is still there, by the way.
It is.
Yes. And Charles Reeves was the first homesteading settler in 1876. Now, it was incorporated in 1902 and became a town. And this is what was in town. I love this. They gave a description of what was in town then. So we had a railroad stop. We had a yacht club already, a new school, an ice plant, a cemetery, a theater, a waterworks, an electric plant, and 2 newspapers and a sanitarium. Because
It's very specific.
Apparently they needed the sanitarium right away.
So did people come in on the circus carts and either go home or to the sanitarium, depending on which act they were in?
I don't know. Maybe they went there in the winter just to recoup. So John and Charles Ringling, which you're going to hear a lot more about in our episode C that we have coming up, they're the famous circus family, of course, invested in Sarasota a year before Sarasota was incorporated as a city in 1913. So they came really early. They were looking for a place to basically go in the winter with the circus.
I mean, again, one of the original snowbirds.
That's right. Tourists are now coming in a steady stream. We saw a lot of them there. And there's an influx of tourism, and partly because of it being a circus town and the Ringling Museum being there. People come for that, and they also come for Siesta Key Beach, which you're going to hear more about why they come for Siesta Key Beach in the next couple of episodes coming up. But so that's the brief history of Sarasota, and we're going to learn more about that as we go down the line.
You know what's amazing to me when we were touring Sarasota and to find out the history and the tie-ins with the Ringlings and to see their home and all that. I mean, how many of these historic homes have we seen now? There was the Bonnet House. There was the HB Plant Museum, which was Tampa or Tallahassee? I can't remember. I'm getting everything confused now. But the HB Plant Museum, you know, and then there are places we haven't even hit yet. Like there's the Flagler Museum. We almost went to see the Edison, where the Edisons and the Fords had their estate. I mean, there's so many of these historic palatial estates built by people who were just like, they literally were starting the trend of wintering in Florida. I mean, it's amazing how many of these there are out there. We could do a whole show just on Florida's historic estates. It's crazy.
We could. Definitely. So anyway, that's the little bit of the history of Sarasota.
And we got treated to Sarasota by Visit Sarasota County. And we are so pleased to have had Britney to work with. And she actually graced us with an interview to tell us a little bit more about Sarasota.
Well, hi, Britney. Thank you so much for joining us and for all your help in putting our adventure together in Sarasota County.
You are so welcome. Thank you guys for making a stop through the county and checking out the destination.
We had a time. All I know is, Britney, I'm sore from the waist down from one of the activities. I'm sore from the waist up from another activity. That I'll just leave it at that. They're going to have to find out from themselves whether or not I survived either one. It was a good time.
Well, it sounds like a good teaser right there. So definitely.
More coming in the next 2 episodes. Actually, we're gonna be splitting it apart as we mentioned. But Britney, what do you want people to know about Sarasota? Well, first of all, people think of Sarasota, the city, and they know there's some beaches out there and some islands out there. But Sarasota County really represents a lot of territory.
We do. We have 35 miles of coastline. And like you said, we're known for those beautiful white sand beaches. But even if you make your way to South County, we have Casperson Beach, which is a little bit more like brown color, and you can find shark teeth. Or you can check out Siesta, which is usually one of the #1 beaches in the world. Or at the north end, Lido, which has a few different options. There's north and south. So you can get a few different experiences. And you couple that with a great group of arts and cultural organizations. We are Florida's cultural coast. And so you come for the beaches, but then you come back and you stay for all the different experiences that you can have.
Yeah, that was one thing. You know, every time we go on one of these adventures, we usually end up leaving realizing some sort of theme that we may or may not have actually anticipated. And I know for us, it was just evident. I mean, the performing arts is just of all kinds and all varieties is just massive in Sarasota.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. I won't allude to too much because it's going to be one of your stops while you're here. But we have some really great roots in this city, and they're founded, in fun, different artistic forms. So again, I'll just leave it at that. And then you have some more classic arts organizations. Quite a few different places to see a show or listen to some music, different types of music, and we even have, a ballet company and opera, all sorts of great stuff in the arts realm.
We haven't even told Britney this yet, but we are actually doing 2 episodes about our adventure, and one of those episodes is going to be dedicated specifically to the Ringling Museum, because we had such a good time there and took in so much good information with all the curators that we're making a special episode. That'll be our episode C. That's just for that. And you can see evidence of the circus all over town, which is kind of fun because you don't see that anyplace else.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I can certainly understand. There's 66 acres that encompasses the Ringling Museum property. So I'm not surprised at all that, you could spend an entire day out there. I try to go as much as I can because I learn something new every time. So I appreciate it, and I can certainly understand why that would be warranted.
When I was doing one of the activities that was just a thrill, I was shocked because there was a very small child who was also participating in this extremely thrilling activity. And it got me thinking, and actually I was discussing with another host on our network who also has kids. I'm a mother. And he's the host of the Florida Beer Podcast. And he wanted me to ask you, because he has small kids too, what are some other good things to do with small kids in Sarasota?
One of my favorite things to recommend is Sarasota Jungle Gardens. So there's a flamingo petting zoo, so you can feed flamingos. There's little alligators. There's a ton of different birds. There's a beautiful grounds as well. And then they also have different shows. And then, of course, we have Moat Marine Laboratory, so you can go and check out sharks and manatees, and they have otters that are really fun. And then, I hate to say it again, but the beach, it's a free activity. Down south, like I said, Casperson Beach, you can dig in the sand and find shark teeth. So that's really fun, finding a free souvenir. But we have a ton of different attractions. And then, I'm looking at our Sarasota County Summer Events Guide for 2019. I mean, there's something almost every weekend going on. So it's a great place to get away with the family. And we certainly enjoy having them in town.
So our listeners know that one of my favorite animals ever is a stingray. And when we were on the beach at Siesta Key with Derek from Endless Summer, I thought I saw one just off the water. It turned out to be nothing but seaweed. But
it turned out to be too much wine at lunch is what it turned out.
But he said that actually at the Moat Marine that you can actually see them really, really up close and personal. And that was something else that I took notice of with Sarasota is you guys just really take care of your natural wildlife and you take pride in the natural landscapes around you.
We do. So there's a stingray petting tank. So you can actually get your hands on a stingray there. I would have sent you there if I knew that. I should have paid more attention. But the other thing, right? Exactly. You'll have to come back. But, Mayaca River State Park is a perfect example. So again, people think of the beach, but we also have natural Florida, in the east part of the county. And there's beautiful canopy trees. There's a canopied walkway. But there's even something called deep hole. So there's a hole in the ground, and because it's so deep and it's so cool, you'll see a ton, maybe 30, 40 alligators piled up. So it kind of just goes back. You can go throughout the county, and again, it's safe as a visitor. You're going to feel very safe and nice and far away, but a lot that you can see and do. And I think I forgot to mention, the sea lions. We even have sea lions here in Sarasota County that you can go, and they'll give you kisses.
There we go. Next time, Jimmy.
You guys are definitely coming back next summer. I can feel it.
I'll tell you, we have to come back because there's a couple of things that we missed that I was kind of bummed that we didn't have the time to do, and we're definitely going to do next time. I grew up in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, home of Amish, the Amish country, and you have an entire community of Amish down there, and I didn't get to take Jemmy there, 1, to see the Amish community, and 2, to eat pie at Yoder's. So that's something that we have to do next time.
Well, and the trick with that one is that, just like other seasonal visitors, the Amish tend to come down in the winter months. And so that's when you have to come back to go to Pinecraft and to go check out the different Amish village that we have here. And like you said, grab that piece of pie at Yoder's or go to Der Dutchman's buffet. I mean, it's a good trip for your stomach, and you'll learn a little bit more about a culture you may not know about. But it sounds like you do. So you have some stuff to learn, though, Jemmy.
I grew up with them. I need to take her there. I definitely need to take her there. And the other thing that we didn't experience, and kind of intentionally because we've done so much water things lately, is you guys have a huge paddleboard, standing board, and boating community there in Sarasota.
Banana boat ride.
You have banana boat ride, just everything boat related you have there.
Yeah, I mean, though, if you're in Florida, you got to get in the water to cool down. So
right.
We have sailboats, we have paddleboards, there's kayaks, canoes. We even have a really fun thing that you can go and watch called the Skiarees. And so it's a group of people that ski and do different tricks. So we have all sorts of fun stuff on the water. We even have, like, the 4th of July is a huge weekend here because we have a huge boating event. So there's all sorts of things that you can do on the water. And of course, I mean, fishing too. So if you, are trying to catch a fish, we have all sorts of very localized fish that you can go out and catch.
We got to do that one of these days, Jimmy. We have not, in 20 times doing this out, we have never gone fishing. We have got to do that.
Oh, wow.
So Brittany, where can people find out more? Where do they go to find out all the events that are coming up and what things there are to do? And I can't wait for everybody to hear in our next couple of episodes what we did.
So the best place is our website, which is visitsarasota.com.
People travel from near and far to experience the area's renowned picturesque beaches. There's nothing like the powder-soft sand of Siesta Beach, voted the #1 beach in the USA. Sarasota is centrally located on Florida's Gulf Coast. Visit sarasota.org for more information about this remarkable destination.
Well, before we get to everything else that's going on in the state of Florida, as we always do, let's take a minute to catch up. It has been a while since our last adventure, Glenn. So what has been going on with you?
I've been working. I'm working. And I got to tell you a funny Florida story, though.
Oh, please do.
So I was out mowing the lawn, and we have a fairly small area that we mow, and I use a push mower. And I was using the push mower, and of course it's hot as heck, like it always like it has been for the last 2 months here.
Your swamp ass was creeping, I'm sure.
And the yard is fenced in for dogs, so it has that wire fencing around it.
Yeah.
And I'm mowing the lawn, and I'm noticing movement over along the fence. And I couldn't I was like, what the heck is that? And I noticed that it's moving back and forth as I'm moving back and forth. It was a snake, about a 5-foot-long snake.
The mower, it's zigzagging right along.
Following me because I think I was kicking up lizards and things, and it was trying to get lunch.
So it wasn't just stalking you. That in my head, it was just stalking you.
I don't think it was stalking me. So the whole time I'm mowing, about half an hour, it's over there along the fence line. I was keeping a close eye on it too. It wasn't poisonous. I do know that. So then I switched to the other side of the yard. It followed me over there.
No way.
And
that's one smart snake.
And I stayed with me the whole time. I finished mowing. I put the lawnmower away, and it was right there outside the shed looking at me.
That is crazy.
And I went running in to get Jennifer and said, you got to come out and see this. Well, by the time she got out there, the snake saw her coming and it took off. And then it freaked me out because it climbed one of the trees that's right where I was mowing. And it just climbed the tree and wove itself around up in the tree. And I was going, wait a minute. I could be mowing and that snake could be above my head
and
all the time.
And just fall on you. Oh my gosh. Have you seen that commercial, that viral video of the guy who goes and rings the doorbell of his friend's house?
Yes.
And all of a sudden the snake jumps at him? That's what I'm thinking. Next time you're mowing the lawn, the snake's going to just jump.
It was a Florida thing if I ever saw it. It's like, how much creepier can our animals get?
I know. Okay, so you've been very hard at work, as you made abundantly clear. And even despite all of our trips and all of our crazy travels with Finding Florida, you're actually headed out on vacation.
Well, I'm doing it without you. See, that's the thing.
Oh, man. I'm such a loser. Where are you going?
We're going to England and Scotland.
Oh, that is going to be
Yeah,
fantastic.
There's some things that have been on my bucket list for a lifetime because I used to play a British king for 10 years in an acting company. So did 450 shows as the king. And now what king has not seen the Tower of London? Me. So I have to go see my tower.
Well, good.
Yeah,
Well, you know what? I kept getting inundated by my brother asking me for something that he needed to go see very, very badly as a result of this show. Many, many episodes ago. I think it was like our 13th adventure, something like that.
Let's just stop there.
Yeah.
Relatives never listen to our shows.
Well, maybe not your relatives. Actually, my brother has listened to every single episode I've put out for Curve the Cube and for Finding Florida now.
One family listener.
But when he heard about our trip to Beauty and the Beef in Wellington, he was like, oh my gosh, I have to try this restaurant out. And he has been asking repeatedly. So finally, he came up from Miami Beach and he spent the weekend and we went to Beauty and the Beef and he got to meet Mario and Bruno. And we pigged out on burgers and all the yummy things.
Okay. Did your brother, who's from South Beach, even know what poutine was?
No! And he thought it was something a little inappropriate and somewhat sexual. And I had to explain, no, they don't serve anything like that at this restaurant. This is just potatoes and cheese curds.
What did he think of poutine?
He loved it. He thought it was really good. Yeah, he thought it was really good.
How can you not like cheese, french fries, and gravy?
Oh, it was so good. It really was delicious as always. So thank you to Mario and Bruno for just treating us and my brother so nicely. And then I also want to give everybody...
They can hear that review in a past episode, too.
Yeah, I think it was episode 13.
It was the gaming one, wasn't it?
No. It was our anniversary. It was the Oktoberfest adventure. Yeah, I want to say it was 13C. And so... Yeah, so then another thing I want to update everybody on is the peacock situation in my neighborhood. It's Peacock Watch, guys. So as you usually hear every once in a while, there's one that chirps in the background and people always think it's a cat or something. And it's the peacocks. There are tons of them in my neighborhood. And a few weeks ago,
hundreds.
Yeah, except as of a few weeks ago, they're like all gone. I walked out to do a walk and I just couldn't see any peacocks anymore. And I was really sad and heartbroken. And I reached out to the lady in charge of our HOA and said, where are the peacocks? She's like, oh, they're in the trees. No, they're not in the trees. They're gone.
They come down every day. They got rid of the peacocks?
I think they got rid of the peacocks.
There's some left though, right?
There are a few left. And I'm noticing the numbers are starting to grow a little bit as little babies are starting to, they're new babies. There's a fresh batch. So hopefully I will be inundated.
I think some of those homeowners, there would be mornings, there would be 30 peacocks on a roof. I mean, there were a lot of peacocks.
I love them, though.
I think they just removed them over to some other wilderness area.
Yeah, or as every parent tells their child when their dog passes away, we sent them to the farm. Sure, that's where they are. They're all in my head.
They're all at the farm.
Wonderful farm.
If you see peacock soup as a special at any local restaurants, you'll know.
All right. Well, anyways, we have put up some great photos and videos already from our latest trip to Sarasota. So if you want to see a little bit of that now and all the fun we had, you can head to Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Look up Find FL Podcast. Sadly, no current pictures of peacocks, but there are current pictures of me flying and Glenn riding. And that's all I'll say. There's a lot of good stuff there. Great videos and everything. So please continue to send us comments, whether it's on social media or our website, findingfloridapodcast.com, or through email. Email me, Jemmy, Jaime, or Glenn, GLENN, at floridapodcastnetwork.com. We really appreciate all the notes, ideas, and feedback.
In fact, we recently got a new listener, and that's Derek from Endless Summer Eco Tours in Sarasota.
Love him. He's so great.
Yes, well, you're not going to love him so much.
What?
This is a bit of a tease into our next adventure, but he wrote to us on Instagram and said, I wasn't going to mention it, but that was 100% the most graceful fall I've ever seen.
Do I get grace points? I get grace points.
If it's half as entertaining as Finding Florida Podcast, I can't wait to dive in and check it out. Now, that fall would be Jemmy, not me. So let's clarify that. And Derek, we hope that you do take a listen. We think you'll enjoy it. But yes, Jemmy took a spill. You'll hear about that coming up too.
Well, Derek, thank you for outing me.
We both watched it. I watched you do it. not giving anything away. I watched you do it, and it was like you frickin' did it in slow motion. I just watched you slowly.
See, you don't know, Glenn. I am a trained stunt woman. At least I was in a former life. Well, Derek, we hope you take the full, not just a small dip or dive, and take a full.
Yeah, we got the bill
plunge.
for $1,400 for what you broke too. So
hey. Shh, quiet. Take a full plunge. Dive into the FPN Insiders on Facebook. It's our closed group of super fans of the Florida Podcast Network shows like Finding Florida. So Derek, as our newest fan, trust me, I am a fan of yours as well. I know Glenn is too. We hope to see you in FPN Insiders because we chat there about fun activities to do. So as you're heading and giving more tours around Siesta Key, take pictures, throw them up there. It'd be great. Well, coming up next, we get into a whole bunch of other fun Florida stuff, and we'll do so right after this. Need a convenient and delicious dessert? Look no further. Grab a cheesecake jar from Leanne's, a local Tampa-grown company shaking up dessert. They bake a single slice of New York cheesecake right in a jar to keep it from getting cold on hot Florida days. It's genius. We both tried some for ourselves back at Podfest and truly loved it. And then they met us out in Tampa and gave us more. So we love them now even more. Thank you so much, guys. Find Leanne's on social media as Cheesecake, the letter N, More. Cheesecake and More. And look up the Central Florida location nearest you to find their yummy jars. Their website is www.leannescheesecakesandmore.com. That's LEANNS, cheesecakes, the letter N, more.com. Or give Joseph a call at 813-445-3861 for your treat in a jar. Guess what time it is, Glenn?
what time is it?
It's time for us to find out more fun stuff about the rest of the state of Florida.
Florida, where you get school credit for learning to water ski.
Well, I have a bit of a twist on our Florida or Not segment. Usually it's all about crimes and crazy people, and you have to guess which story is which. Well, not doing that this time. We're giving ourselves a break from the criminal element in Florida.
That's hard to do.
I know. And instead, turning our attention to tourist traps. So I found this interesting list of a ranking of the most boring tourist traps in every U.S. state. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to share a few of the first ones, right? Just going to share some funny ones. And then I'll give you some options for you to pick from to guess if it's the one if it's the attraction that's labeled as the most boring tourist trap in Florida or not. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So here's some really funny ones just to lead us in, give you an idea of what we're talking about here. So in Georgia, apparently the most boring tourist attraction there is the Lunchbox Museum. There's a Lunchbox Museum. Now, it houses 450 collectible lunchboxes, and in my opinion, that's awesome. Like, I would love to go to a lunchbox.
What was on your lunchbox?
I think I had a Wonder Woman one at once. I think I had a Smurf one once. So it was always characters.
I can see you with the Wonder Woman one.
And it was always the metal one where the printing, like the way that they did it, the
what stuck out?
Yes.
Yes.
I would rub my finger on it all day long. God, I love that thing. I love my lunchboxes.
Now, did it still have leftover lunches in the lunchboxes in the museum? That'd be more interesting to see what survived.
Super gross, because it would really smell. Well, in Hawaii, there's a place called Spouting Horn. I don't know, but it's like a water spout basically, but not in the water. It's off of like some lava formations, and out of the middle of it springs a water spout. Great.
People pay lots of money to go see that.
Yep. And I think I can tell you something that actually beats it, in my opinion, as even way more boring. So what do they usually say when they're like, oh, I'm so bored? It's like watching
paint dry?
Yes, it's like watching paint dry. Well, apparently in Indiana, there's a place where you can do that. It's called the Ball of Paint. And it's located in Alexandria, Indiana. And it's the world's largest ball of paint. And it's just hanging from the ceiling. And you can walk up and just paint it and watch it dry and walk away. I think you've contributed something to the world's largest.
I would do that. I would so do that.
And also, the largest thing is in Iowa, there's the largest frying pan.
Yes, I know about that one.
Yep. And in Kansas, there's the largest ball of twine.
Yep.
And then the other super cool collection museum that I found, which I'm not sure if I would actually think it was cool once I'm there, but conceptually, I think it's pretty awesome. In Massachusetts, there's the plumbing museum. Now, to each their own, right? But okay, so now I've given you a sense of these
toilets through time.
Yes, I've given you a sense of the types of attractions that are on this list, okay? So when it comes to Florida, there is one very specific one picked out. Before I give you three options, just off the top of your head, knowing the attractions in our state, does anything jump out at you as possibly being the most boring?
Well, it has to involve an alligator.
That's a good thought. I love that. Okay.
We have a lot of boring alligator attractions.
We sure do.
Where you just sit and watch the alligators.
Or take a picture with them and then you're done.
Lay there and not move. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I'm going to give you three choices, right? And these three choices actually are listed as the most boring tourist attraction in their state. It's just which one is from Florida. So your three options are the City of Live Mermaids, Edison's Last Breath, or the world's largest fork.
I'm going with Edison's Last Breath because of the museum down there in Fort Myers.
And that is exactly why I put it in there to throw you off. No, Edison's Last Breath is in Michigan. I guess where his friend Ford was, I imagine.
Yeah, well, he lived there too, I think.
Oh, did he in Detroit, Detroit area? So, okay. Well, Edison's Last Breath is like this little test tube. Whether or not it actually contains his last breath, I don't know, but it's on display in Dearborn, Michigan. And the world's largest fork is on display in Springfield, Missouri, but it's actually not even the world's largest because there's one that's even bigger in Colorado. But in Florida, it's actually the City of Live Mermaids, which is something that we do plan on going and checking out at some point. It's the Weeki Watchy Mermaids. Crazy.
Well, why is that boring?
Right? I'm sorry, but out of everything on the list, that was everything.
Half-naked women swimming around in a pool is not boring.
I will take the most boring. If that's the most boring tourist attraction in Florida, I will take that over some of the probably the most exciting tourist attractions in other states. I'm sorry, that's pretty damn good.
I agree. We're going there.
So
we like mermaids. Florida. We've met mermaids before, and they're very nice. Medusa,
she was well representing the mermaid life, and so one day we'll make it up to Witchy Watchy, and we'll tell everybody, look. City of Live Mermaids has got it going on.
We tried, but they were refurbishing it when we were there.
That's true. So there will be a next time.
It's a brand new tank. It's not boring anymore.
We're going to have to check it out. And if you visited them in the past, you go back and check it out too. Well, up next is our roaming reporter segment. I'm so excited, as always, to welcome Izzy J, my little mentee, as a roaming reporter onto the Finding Florida podcast. And she actually met us out for part of this adventure in Sarasota. She and her family met us at the Ringling. Major kudos to her mother, by the way, because her mother brought Izzy, who's 11, Anna, who's 7, and Luke, who's brand new at 3 weeks old.
6 weeks or something.
3 weeks. And it was her first time bringing all 3 kids out anywhere. So thank you to Marvy for even thinking about doing it. But she met us out there and spent the whole day. And so Izzy J got to tour the whole entire Ringling with us. And so this will give you a little bit of a teaser into what's going to come up in 20C, just a little tidbit and taste. But here's what she had to say about the Ringling.
There's so many things that kids can do here. They have a playground that they made, and then there's this area that you can try out things yourself. You can try to walk on a wire where it thins out till the end and you have to try to press the button. There you can ride a horse, and you can hear all these different sounds that they play in the circus. And you can also shoot cannons and try to aim for it.
Well, thank you to Izzy J. You can find her podcast at reportinglivepodcast.com. Anybody can become a roving reporter. Anybody can contribute. All you have to do is tell us your name, where you're from. If you're already a podcaster, you don't have to be, in the name of your show. What kinds of things you like to do, and check out in your town. And if you're going to an event and a live event, let's say a fair or a festival, there's some weird festivals around the state too. So
Yeah, there
if you're
are.
going to one of them, we have some weird ones. We have the Peanut Festival here. So as everything peanuts. So if you're going to one of those festivals
That
and want to
sounds
send
like
us a little
strong
report.
pitch for a peanut roaming reporter.
Yes, that's right. I'm the Peanut Reporter coming live. So if you want to do that, just send us that information. Email it to Jemmy, Jaime, at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com.
Finding Florida's list fix.
Well, I found this recent list from Wallet Hub about the best and worst cities for staycations. So we talked about workations in episode 17, but this one's a little bit different, and it's kind of funny. So Wallet Hub, they are some very serious financial folks, very scientific, man. First of all, I just want to say a quick note on their methodology. Listen to this, right? So this is how they explain their super secret science methodology. In order to determine the best staycation spots, Wallet Hub compared 182 U.S. cities, including the 150 most populated U.S. cities, plus at least 2 of the most populated cities in each state, across 3 key dimensions: recreation, food and entertainment, and rest and relaxation. We evaluated those dimensions using 43 relevant metrics, blah, 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 a whole bunch of other super nerdy info. And then it ends with, we determined each city's weighted average across all metrics to calculate its overall score and use the resulting scores to rank order our sample. Good Lord, these people are serious.
They could have just asked people what they do in town.
Good Lord. So
They could have asked us. We could have told them everything to do in Florida.
So did all of that make sense? Close enough. Here's the rundown. All right. So out of the 182 spots, you'll be happy to know that Florida had 11 cities in in that listing. Yeah, I was pretty excited about that. So just want to tell you a couple of the highlights here. Start from the bottom and move our way up. So the lowest ranking Florida city was at 169, and that's Hialeah, Florida. Now, Hialeah is like adjacent to Miami, so we might be doing our next adventure in that area. So I'm not sure if that means we should check it out, should not check it out. It's number 169, and just barely above it, really close to me, actually, is Port St. Lucie, also known as the Pizzle, affectionately locally. 152 has Pembroke Pines, where I went and did my presentation.
Can I just say something about Port St. Lucie?
Yeah.
There are more Florida men stories out of Port St. Lucie. That jail has to be packed.
You are so right. It seems like every other
Florida man story is Port St. Lucie.
Oh my gosh. Well, all the way up north, coming in at number 62, is our great capital of Tallahassee. Number 62 there. And then
we'll vouch for that. There was a lot to do there.
Do you know where Cape Coral is? I have no idea where Cape Coral is.
I think Cape Coral's on the Gulf Coast, isn't it?
Ooh, I think you're right. Well, they come in at exactly number 50. And we had mentioned our friend Jonathan Oakes recently on an episode of Florida Podcasting News. He's doing great things up there in Jacksonville with his show Trivial Warfare, and Jacksonville came in at number 43. I'm sure Jonathan is bringing that number up or down himself. And then number 37 is beautiful St. Pete. That definitely is one that for some reason we don't talk about enough as far as, you know, when we're deciding where we need to go in our adventures. I think we need to take a close look.
Because it's always Tampa, St. Pete. It's those two are together.
True, yeah.
But we need to go do St. Pete. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, next on the list at number 19 is the one that we are hoping to maybe target next time, and that's Miami. So I can't wait, if that happens, to bring you, Glenn, down here and check out some Miami flavors. I'm excited to see what you do with all of that energy.
Drop me off at South Beach and pick me up when you're done.
Oh, God, you won't survive. You will not survive.
No, I'm at the actual beach.
You won't survive that either. You'll see the thongs on that beach and just have a complete meltdown. Well, you mentioned a minute ago that it's adjacent to St. Petersburg, and Tampa is coming in. It's breaking into the top 10 at number 9. So congratulations to Tampa.
There was so much to do in Tampa.
Well, we actually, out of the top 10, we have 3 cities.
Who was above 10. Tampa? Ocala.
Not even on the list.
Orlando has to be on the list.
So that's a reason why we keep saying we're going to hit Ocala, and it just hasn't happened. Yeah.
Orlando has to be like top 5.
Actually, Orlando has the top spot for Florida. It's at number 2, but I don't want to skip mentioning that Fort Lauderdale had the number 8 slot. So congratulations to Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. But yeah, Orlando comes in at number 2, and so there's only one town that beats Orlando. What do you think?
New York.
New York actually surprised me. It came in at number 16. I thought it'd been way higher than that. No, any guesses? I would never even thought of this in a million. Huh?
LA or Austin, Texas?
No, you're closer with LA, but no. Honolulu, Hawaii.
Well, okay. Yeah,
right?
Hawaii shouldn't even count. Wins everything.
No. And apparently all they have are like water spouts coming out of lava. How exciting can that possibly be? But it makes a great staycation thing, apparently.
See, we're known more than just for criminals.
Not much more, but we are known for more.
How big is the Port St. Lucie jail anyway? It's got to be huge.
You know what? I will look that up and provide you with an official report.
We have to do a visit. Next time we're in that area, we have to stop at the Port St. Lucie jail and get a tour.
Oh my God. I don't want a tour. I'll stand outside and take some selfies with you, but I don't know if I'll go and take a tour. I don't know if they'll let me back out. FML. Florida. Ugh, my life. Well, one fun thing about Facebook is that you get to keep up with all the random things that happen in your friends' lives. And one of my friends is Paul, who is also co-organizer of Palm Beach Podcasters with us. And on his Facebook feed, a couple of weeks ago, I saw this update, and I quote, "Spent my birthday on a boat, kind of an unplanned adventure."
Yep.
Note, don't put off fixing a faulty fuel gauge. And I thought, oh my gosh, that has Florida FML just written all over it. Paul, I'm dying to hear the story behind what happened on your birthday on your boat.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's one of the many, but yeah, we'll stick to that. Decided I wanted to sail. I live in South Florida. I want to go out and learn how to sail. Bought a boat, and that was in December. So my birthday's in June 22nd. Finally, my wife and I are like, let's just take it out, because we had all this work we had to do. And there were a couple of things we didn't do, as you noted. And we decided just to take it out and enjoy a day on the water in a sailboat. Now, keep in mind, sailboat. And eventually, well, before we even left, my wife said, "Hey, do you think we should put some fuel in?" And I thought, oh, you know what? It uses hardly any fuel. And so we'll be fine. And she said, okay. And
famous last words.
Yeah, we had one of those moments where I had to admit that she was probably right. And so we're going along, and all of a sudden the RPMs are going down, and we're going along, and we're deciding that, we're going to try to go under this bridge in Stewart, and the RPMs are dropping again. And this is over the course of a couple of minutes. And then all of a sudden the engine died. And I realized at that point that she was right. And there was one more thing I should have fixed, and that was that fuel gauge. And so I'm just drifting there, all these speedboats going by me with a sailboat.
Did you forget to buy sails?
No, see, that's the thing.
Just checking.
I was embarrassed to even call the towboat, because I'm like, a sailboat ran out of fuel. It's like, okay, we'll put up the sails. Go.
Yeah. What?
Problem solved.
And why didn't you? Is my question.
Well, good question. We don't know how to. We really don't know how to. We've been working on it, and we never learned how to sail. So that was.
Let me get this right. You bought the sailboat before you knew how to sail, and you haven't bothered to learn how to sail?
Took it out before he at least fixed the fuel gauge, which apparently he was relying on.
Yeah. It was a bad move.
You make all of us podcasters proud. I'm just
Well, listen, it's been since December I bought this, and it's now whatever, we're 6 months past that, and I still don't know how to sail it. I went out with my daughter. She's in town for summer break. Came down and said, "Let's go out on the boat." And it overheated. So we didn't get to go then either.
Yeah, you've had like one thing after another since you got this boat. What have been some of the issues that you've bumped up against since getting your boat?
Well, I had somebody come out to look at the lines that go up to the sail, and they said, "Oh, we can't go up there. The rigging, which is all the cables, they're so old, you have to replace those." So that was...
there's $1,000.
Oh, I wish. So there's a saying, a boat is an acronym for break out another 1,000. And I laughed at that when people told me all these things. And I laughed, and now I realize that's actually a good day when it's only 1,000.
Oh,
so
my
that was about 3,000.
You know, boats and horses are so much alike. They always say the way to make money with horses is start with money, because that's the only option. It's the same with boats. And, everybody that moves around water thinks they should own a boat. And I wonder, on average, how long people own boats before they get rid of them. It has to be like 2 years. Because
there's another phrase they have. It says the two best days in a boat owner's life: the day you buy it and the day you sell it. And we're about to find out about the second half of that one, if that's true or not.
Well, it's interesting because in the horse world, a lot of horse owners and people who are really into it are the women. And so they talk a lot about what the horse husbands have to deal with. Glenn, you know firsthand all about that. And I can't help but think about, from your story, Paul, about, boat wives. Your wife having to deal with this too.
Oh, she's all on board. No pun intended.
Yeah, right.
I didn't mean that, but it works. But she's all on board now. And actually, when I said, "Is it time for us just to sell this and forget
you just got in December."
I know. I actually have seriously considered that, but I'm not doing that yet. But she's the one saying, "No, this is so fun. We should do this." And really wanted,
and they don't have any money left after fixing the boat for lessons.
Right.
So
yeah, that is exactly right.
So Paul, how did you guys get home? How did the story end?
One of the smartest things you can do as a boat owner is invest in the towboat package. It's like $100 a year, and they'll tow you wherever. And so I had them come out. Now, here's another thing to note. Normally, you call them on the radio. Nope, I wasn't doing that. I got on the phone.
You wanted privacy.
You were going to have that broadcast everywhere.
That was not going public. And I was
20-mile-an-hour winds, and the sailboat's is stuck in the middle.
That's right. Everybody, I'm drifting, and they're speeding by, wondering why. And so, so he came up and he towed me just a little bit up to a fuel dock, and then we got fuel, and and then we went on our merry way.
It's good. It's not like a diesel where if you run out of fuel, it costs you $2,000 to get it running again.
Well, so that's the thing. It's a diesel, and so when I went to start it again, it wouldn't start, and I remembered, you have to burp it or whatever. You get to clear the fuel out. And so that's what I had to do. So I was there at the dock for about an hour. Seriously, this was supposed to be just a couple hours on the water for my birthday. It ended up, I think we left at like noon, and I got home like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. We were exhausted.
Well done, Paul. Well done.
I mean, but we haven't given up. That for sale sign is not on there yet.
Yeah. So you won't be offended if whenever I'm invited on said boat, I pass on the invitation.
No, you just need to bring a gas can along with you. Make sure you bring a little 5-gallon gas can.
And that there's diesel fuel in it. Diesel fuel.
And your own oar. Bring your own oar.
Oh, man. So as I mentioned at the top of the segment, Paul is my co-organizer for Palm Beach Podcasters. And our next dates for that event will be Tuesday, August 27th. And Tuesday, September 24th. So if you want to come and see Paul in person and point and laugh at him, you can meet us on those nights.
I'm okay with that.
RSVP.
We all do. Why shouldn't you?
All right. RSVP at palmbeachpodcasters.com. And Paul, you have your own podcast. So let's give a quick shout out and mention of that.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. I love co-hosting, by the way, with you. And I don't even know if it should be called co-hosting. You do 99% of the work. Blah. So I'm just another participant.
That's the way it is here too, Paul.
There you go. So it's just what we know about Jemmy. So my podcast is called The Key. And I started it with a friend of mine who's a licensed psychotherapist. And we're trying to break through all the self-help woo-woo stuff and get down to the science of getting better in life and overcoming the things that keep us from achieving our goals.
Well, there'll be a future episode about how to survive boat ownership.
Part of that was me working with him, working through the things that were keeping me from reaching my goals, and it was realizing I needed some downtime. So I still need downtime, but there you go. We're working on that. But it's called The Key, The Key Podcast, masterthekey.com. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Good luck with that boat, by the way. Hey, if you ever need a horse, come on up.
Can't afford it.
This month's hero. Well, yeah, it's been a little bit since we've had a preview episode, and it's been a really long time since we've featured a hero of the month. So this is like a hero of the quarter, I guess. I don't know. But I've been so excited to finally include a clip about this guy in one of our episodes. So my son, he goes to a really great school called Imagine Chancellor. And at Imagine Chancellor, their athletic director is a guy named Coach Mark. And Coach Mark is fantastic. And he has quite the story. He's come out from very difficult circumstances, and he's making a real difference. And I'm so proud to be able to present you with this little quick clip of him explaining a little bit about what he's been through and about what he's doing. It comes from another show on our network called People of Palm Beach, hosted by Suzanne Boyd. This was the 8th episode of People of Palm Beach. And here's a little bit of Coach Mark.
What I've dealt with and what I see on a day-to-day basis, kids go home and they have issues that we have no idea. No idea.
Right.
I remember in middle school, when I was in middle school, I was so hungry that I didn't eat for a day. I slept on the principal's floor and I cried for almost 3 hours. I cried so much that I fell asleep. And I woke up when the school was, because they called people, nobody answered. So I slept there. And then I woke up at 3:30 and I walked home. That happened. And it hurt. And I'm saying to myself, why is it that there's so much out there that we don't know? And that's why, as human beings, like I said, we take things for granted. We don't understand. But that's why I want to build my organization, to help less fortunate children. And I can't help everybody, but I can make a difference. So that's why I want to give back. And that's why I'm passionate about it.
So tell us about what you started Kids for Kids, which is an organization that helps at-risk youth with supporting them and mentoring them. So tell me a little bit about that organization.
I started up in 2005. I volunteer my time over at down the street here at Pompey Park for the last 12 years, coaching young youth. I've been coaching them since they were like 5 years old. I volunteer. It's been 10 to 12 years I've been doing that with Coach Kevin down in Delray.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I love Coach Kevin.
Do you know Coach Kevin?
I've done stories with him back in the past.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I started an organization, and it is basically start off with sports because that's what I knew at that time. And then as I kept doing it and kept learning and seeing how kids change, I'm focusing on opening my own charter school. I want to open up a sports charter, where we specialize basically on, when you go to PE, it's not just about PE. You're special on that sport. It's going to be either basketball, baseball, soccer, learning how to hit T-ball first, learning how to run the bases, learning how to detect the fundamentals to the game. Yeah, the skills.
The basic skills.
Basic skills.
So you want to start this charter school, and is this the name you want to? The American Academy.
The American Academy. I started off with Kids for Kids, and it's been I think 2 years now since I've changed the name.
So what do you need in order to make that happen? Like what's the next step?
Grants.
Yeah.
Funding. I just need a lot of funding is the biggest thing as everything in any business you do, anything that you trying to move forward on. But grants, private donors.
Now, are you a grant writer? Do you understand how to do all that? Because that's complicated, isn't it?
I'm not. Thank God.
I've heard stories about grant writing.
It's a lot. I'm fortunate now. I'm still looking for one, and Salvation Army I partnered up is helping me as well. Yeah,
sure.
they're big on that. They have corporations and that.
Yeah,
so doesn't mean I can't have no more help. So any way I can find funding to help move forward, I'm definitely looking for that. And I appreciate it, definitely.
So I really relate with Coach Mark. He, like my family, his parents immigrated from Haiti. As a kid, as you heard, he fell into seriously difficult circumstances. And a coach stepped into his life and made all the difference. And he's really looking to do exactly that with today's youth locally in South Florida. And I just want to champion his efforts as much as possible. You know, he's now looking to build his own charter school centered around athletics and help make a difference like it made for him. So if you think you can help with a grant or support of any kind, please reach out to Coach Mark at americanacademy.info, or you can email him at the letter M as in Mary or Mark, mtriplethreat.inc@gmail.com. Let's help a brother out.
Flintstone Media has been the digital bedrock of several Florida brands and businesses. Serving as a highly resourceful podcast production house, work with a leader in Florida's podcasting industry and add a podcast to your brand's content offerings. From setup through recording and distribution, Jemmy will lend her experience producing over 500 episodes and make the process of creating your show simple and easy for you. Visit FlintstoneMedia.com for podcast samples. That's FlintstoneMedia.com.
Well, thanks for coming along with us once again as we are finding Florida. There's so much to find and do and experience in the town of Sarasota and in neighboring Siesta Key. And you just got a sneak peek into our fun adventure episodes that will be coming out next.
We'll be riding electric bikes. We'll be falling off of electric bikes. We'll be climbing tree houses, flying on a trapeze 40 feet in the air, hanging out with friends old and new, and eating lots of food. Lots of food. And we've just began planning for our next adventure. Keep checking the findingfloridapodcast.com/next adventure and our social media for our destination announcement.
And please remember to join that Facebook group. We mention it all the time. We want to see more of you in there participating. It's called FPN Insiders. And we just love to talk to you guys in there and see what else you're doing and what activities are you experiencing in Florida. Tell us about that on Facebook at FPN Insiders. And with that being said,
here's to your next Florida adventure.